PLT conference, Psychology, Learning and Technology 22. We are very glad to start this new day of the conference. It's a pleasure to me to introduce the session, this interesting session, because today the name of this session is Apps and Innovation Tool, New Opportunities for School Learning and Teaching. We will have 5 papers that we collected in this conference for this part, and are mainly related to the aspect of learning and technology, the interceptions between these two elements. And in this session will be chaired by Professor Marianna Alesi from the University of Palermo, and I give the stage, the floor, to the Professoressa Alesi, and thank you for this attention, your attention.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, and many thanks to Prof. Limone and Prof. Toto to have invited me for this very interesting conference. So we have 5 lectures. The first one, we have 15 minutes for each presentation, and then questions about each presentation. The first one is School Wellbeing, a New Alphabet for Post-Pandemic School. Authors are Michele Baldassare, Alberto Fornasari, and Paola Lisimberti. So Dr. Alberto Fornasari will show us the presentation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi.
I'll advise you when 5 minutes before the end.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Hi, I introduce myself. I'm Alberto Fornasari. I'm Associate Professor from the Department of Science of Education, Psychology and Communication of University of Bari Aldomoro, and I also involved in technology education as a board member of SIREM, Italian Society of Multimedia Educational Research. I'm a pedagogue, so I participate in this conference on tip 2, considering interdisciplinarity as an added value in research. I try to share my slide. Can you tell me if it's possible to see my slide?
We see white screen at the moment.
You don't see the slide?
No.
No. Okay.
Perhaps now we see your slide.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. To start, an unforeseeable complexity has affected the educational system in 2019 and 2021. In the face of distance learning, the contradiction that were already a feature of the school system exploded. Poor infrastructure, inadequate methodological and technological skills of teachers and learners. And the most difficult test to face for the emergency school was the educational relationship, a fundamental element for the teaching and learning process to work, which was confronted with the expansion of the pedagogical space in the network, the encounter and clash with the family space and new teaching methods. Amongst material, relation, social, cognitive needs, we have to ask ourselves what new meanings the promotion of school well-being takes on in the post-pandemic school. the new pedagogy built behind the dichotomies of distance and presence must not forget rights, access to the network through connection and devices, and needs, fragility, relationship, sociality, to build a new alphabet of school well-being. The first year was characterized by the closure of school with the activation of distance learning through the country. And the second year was characterized by the reopening of school and the transition from distance learning to integrate digital teaching with different solutions from region to region and by school order. The consequence and effects generated by distance learning have been the subject of several investigations which have analyzed teachers, teaching practice, and students' condition. In particular, the ISTAT Annual Report 2021, in the section entitled Pandemic and School Participation, show how the full continuity of educational process has been guaranteed only for a minority. The survey reveals significant criticalities, especially for vulnerable children with few resources available. This has generated a new category of excluded persons who have not participated in video lesson, distributed in different percentage by school order. And to remedy these criticalities, the school has intervened by identifying priority needs and maintaining the focus on technologies. More connection, more PC, more tablets to be distributed to families to allow remote access to the school. And not being able to participate in the online lesson is a form of objective exclusion, and the effect on this gap are currently not fully accessible and calculable, but it is not the only dimension to look at. School well-being cannot be characterized exclusively by access to connection and possession of device. We also, it's important also to reflect that for Italian families, the possession of a broadband connection and adequate digital skills were already an obstacle before the pandemic. Consider that in the 2019 ISTAT survey, Citizen and ICT, found that the percentage of families with a broadband connection was 74%, with large differences between different regions, metropolitan areas, and also a small municipality. And the school should not consider tools such as technological equipment and network infrastructure as a priority, but take care of the infrastructure that is to be considered the most important in the smart city is the people. And the concept of school well-being takes of new meaning. Few investigations have carried out on the relationship aspect of homeschooling, but fundamental elements for the teaching and learning process to really work in relationship and the teacher's ability to establish quality relationship. Every educational action enhances the cognitive, affective, and relational dimension, and it's characterized by the active involvement of the learner. The importance of the centrality of the person does not be lacking even in the emergency school. And the most difficult test for the emergency school to face was the educational relationship, which was confronted with new teaching methods. And it is precisely in this phase that the dimension of educational relationship, which has always been at the heart of a part of the pedagogical tradition, has re-emerged as crucial above and behind disciplinary or evaluation-related issue in its relationship with the specular dimension of connection. Scholastic well-being is influenced by the environment. The relationship between teachers and students, the relationships formed with classmates, the workload to which the learner is subjected, the sense of belonging to the entire school community, and the management of the classroom in a space-time augmented by technology requires a rethinking of the organization of the classroom space, seen as a place in which learners implement dynamics of belonging and self-experimentation in relationships with peers and adults. This rethinking, albeit emergency dictated by the historical moment, must consider how much the classroom climate, even at a distance, is one of the crucial aspects on which a teacher must work. It is a matter of taking care of that network of affective relation on which the classroom climate depends, and of building this network together with the learners. Promoting school well-being in the emergency school, therefore, means taking care of these delicate components through the perspective of a new pedagogy of presence and distance, which does not forget the reading and management of emotion. The classroom climate, understood as the pedagogical space of school well-being, should be rethought in the light of the strong discontinuity produced by the transition from the physical classroom to the virtual classroom, and significant contribution in direction of a new role of teaching practice comes from the reflection of some scholars for whom the universal design for learning can support the innovative system of integrated digital didactics. Work, organization, relation with the manager, classroom management are key points of teacher discomfort, who between distance learning, subjective perception of powerlessness in the face of the changes required by emergencies, and objective modification of workloads, find themselves exposed to excessive loads of stress that can seriously affect psychological well-being and health. It is therefore impossible to ensure that students feel good in their school, that they live a quality experience understood in Dewey's terms as an experience in which the quality of relationship is taken care of, in which the student is active, participant, and constructor of reality, without considering the teachers and their well-being in their work experiences. A recent study aimed at reporting on perceptions of distance learning in secondary school, adolescents in Naples during school lockdown, and the activation of distance learning, examined the relationship with teachers and peers and level of stress, and anxiety. In June 2020, the UNICEF report, this 19 carried out as active children and people and parents during the lockdown in Italy. And about school well-being, the options of the respondents were positive, and many stated that they were able to adapt easily to new contexts of distance learning. With respect to the later, the data shows a tendency for anxiety level to decrease when dealing with homework during the lockdown. How can this be explained? In fact, recent research showed that the anxiety decreased during active learning activities, which may have been facilitated by a student-centered rather than teacher-centered approach, thanks to the contribution of the technology. A rigorous pedagogical analysis suggests the hypothesis that education becomes a space in which the emergency can be reinterpreted as a novelty that breaks through with all its unexpected and unthought of transformative potential. And student attention is converging in the direction of a change in teaching methodology, and it's fueled by a desire for socializing through not only educational trips and study tour, but also laboratory activities characterized by active and collaborative learning. Peer teachers, families, and communities interact with the learner and guide them towards well-being, and it is expressed in the concept of the co-agency. Physical and mental health and social and emotional skills are the competence of 2030 agenda, and students have to deal with complexity and learn how to shape a changing world. In August 2020, the deadlines for integrated digital teaching gave school operational indication for managing the emergency. There are not explicit references in the guidelines to the scholastic well-being of students, but it's recommended that attention be paid to fragility, divided into two categories: health condition and emotional or sociocultural condition. And the achievement of social well-being is closely linked to educational attainment, and it's determined by the happy intersection of thank you, several factors. What tools are available to European citizens to measure the level of well-being? And the OECD provides the Better Life Index. The project that I present today, named The Other, the Elsewhere, and the Otherwise, it's founded by POM, is based on the consideration that the area lacks meeting place for adolescents that offer educational and training service for well-being of the individual, and that are alternatives to the street or to sport, parish, and school activities. The project took place at the Liceo Pepe Calamo in Ostuni, and can be considered an example of the synergy between community and territory, aimed at inclusion and recovery of sociality that are at the heart of plan's objective. Designed by a teacher of the school, this educational didactic pathway is aimed at the students at the entire school who voluntarily participate in the activity and are supported in their choice by dialogue with their teachers, who are also engaged in the detecting signs of discomfort and disorientation using a listening desk run by a psychologist. The project proposes a drama workshop to help recover non-cognitive, emotional, and sensory skill. This intervention involves the creation of a meeting space that, in compliance with safety measures, offers the opportunity to experience socialization through the medium of theater to foster personal growth, human exchange, and mutual enrichment. The critical situation was compounded by the forced isolation of the emergency period, which led to the exclusion of the students from any opportunity to meet, thus slowing their growth in terms of an emotional skill. The project proposes a drama workshop to help recover non-cognitive, emotional, and sensory skill. The transversal objective revolves around the central theme of experimenting with difference, protection and care, proximity and closeness, distance and presence, verbal and nonverbal language. And also the project intends to start a process that contributes to investigate form of relationship, encouraging the development of sensory perception, encourage the development of the ability to listen to oneself and to cooperate in groups dynamics. And the exclusively workshop-based methodology is based on the figure of the theatrical clown, the conceptual basis of the entire work. And the participants are led to experience the different meaning of protecting and taking care. The term protection enters the sphere of dedication to the other that, to some extent, coincides with control over the other, with a limit at least proposed. And for the clown, error is an opportunity and a resource. Fragility and weakness become straightened. Play, logger, and self-irony increase self-esteem and help to strengthen grow bones. The path involves the participants in the search for alternative way of spatial perception. An invisible relation network is built on the stage, but also a tangible network made of poor materials. And at the end, because I probably finish my times, I want just to tell you that this experience needs. Okay. Thank you. I think that this experience needs to be capitalized and systematized. And what school experience in the last 2 years must become the precondition for accepting and reduce frontal and transmissive teaching that already John Dewey and Maria Montessori condemned in favor of their pedagogical activism. It would be much more effective to use alternative and laboratory approach and inquiry-based learning or problem solving. This is the only way to live and understand in a critical and conscious way our technological hybridized world. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you to Professor Fornasari. Perfect time. Do you have any question? Maybe on the chat?
Yeah, on the chat there is one question from the audience. It's made from Gwendalina Begonio, and the question is, in which way schools and universities can rethink and update the teaching. I ask to all the attendees to write down the question on the chat. I will collect and give the voice of your question.
Okay. All around the world, I think that schools and universities should rethink and update teaching to adjust to technological changes and exploit the potentialities by means of hybrid teaching. Considering teaching in presence as absolutely good and online teaching as a bad and necessary only during the pandemic is in my opinion, ideological, reductive, and wrong. If properly used in a pedagogical approach, technology represents an opportunity for students who can participate in training and adaptive process and better adapt to changes. The long and complex post-pandemic period should allow the experimentation of a better integration between teaching in the classroom and technological augmented teaching. I think that the process of digitalization and methodological innovation should become permanent, as suggested in mission number 4, educational research of the national PNRR. I hope that that my reply is.
Any other question, or we can go with the next presentation?
At the moment, from the chat, there is no question.
Okay.
Present.
Maybe at the end we can do other questions. So the next one presentation is Sharing Emotions, is titled Sharing Emotions to Reduce Distances, the Promotion of the Sense of Belonging and the Participation of University Students. The authors are Barbara Ugeli, Giusy Toto, Ciro Esposito, Caterina Arcidiacono e Immacolata Di Napoli. Professor Caterina Arcidiacono will discuss this interesting tema. Please.
Okay, now we see how I'm able with technical device. It is not my best. Wait a moment, I have to condividi applicazione schermo. One moment, we will see. Condiviso?
Ancora no.
Se ci sono problemi condivido io, non c'è nessun problema. Se preferisce...
Vabbè, condividi, fammi questo piacere.
Nessun problema.
Okay.
No problem at all.
Okay. Now, I am pleased to be here to participate in this conference. That is one of the first things that we are doing, connecting our experience of University Federico II with Foggia experience in new technologies. And so I think that it was for us a very richful interaction. We want to share an experience, and we want to share the discussion we had on this experience. That is a teaching experience in the sense of community psychology. Community psychology is the discipline we are developing, we are working. And looking in a community psychology perspective to the pandemic and to the teaching in the pandemic time, we arrive to some points. And therefore, we organize the teaching, we organize the teaching in giving importance, priority to connectedness, to participation, to social interaction. I was sitting there and asking to myself, what can we do to create interaction, although each of the students is in its own house? What can we do to improve relationship, sharing, and joint activity? I try to organize all my teaching experience, giving people the giving to the participant the a special way in organizing the teaching. As first, we use online teaching, synchronous and asynchronous, both of them. And the important thing, I gave to my students the task to organize some exercise that has to be done together. So we use the asynchronous as a moment of interaction, and we ask them to do some homework, to prepare lessons, to deepen concept, interacting together. Because we, for us, it was very important that to face adversity, we had to maintain a situation of connection. So people were in isolation, in home isolation, distancing measures were everywhere, and we try to think what we can do in our work. Mine was a course of community psychology, so it was a course that was on the concept and construct and theorizing of community psychology. So it was not so difficult to find out a way of share some task for the students for concept we were teaching. And so I start to give some task. I ask students to write a diary, and I ask students to make picture of and drawing that express a beautiful or a bad or a good dimension in their being at home. And then we use, puoi arrivare tranquillamente alla 6, then we use this drawing and this diary as a moment of discussion and discussion online. Then
I lost connection.
Forse,
Do you hear me? The Professor Cidiagono is followed down. Yeah, she is out because probably the line went off. I don't know if we can wait a minute, otherwise we can go ahead.
1-2 minutes. I don't know.
These are the problems that are in synchronous moment in blended education or in online education that every one of us experienced in our courses because this technical problem,
We are developing,
problem.
Yes, we are developing device anxiety.
Yeah, exactly. And if there is a little something that goes wrong, is a big problem. Because when we are online, there is this problem that when there is no audio, there is the empty space totally. in class, when there is a silence, you can see the face, you can see the movement.
The theory of mind.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know what is happening, because I was worried that was my fault, and you don't see my screen, but it was Professoressa Arcidiacono that went off. I don't know if she tried to write me down. Okay. No, she's not coming.
Can you invite her? Maybe it's more easy for her to enter if you invite her. I don't know.
Yeah, I try. Otherwise, we can skip to the second, the third article.
Yes.
And coming back to Professoressa Arcidiacono when she will back. We have another question for the from the chat.
Okay, for Professor
Fornasari.
Yes.
I don't know if he is now online. Otherwise, he is hearing us, Professor Fornasari. Otherwise, at the end of the session, because I anticipate the question that is from Fabiana.
Okay.
Yes.
From
Fabiana Morosini, we have a question because we are waiting for Professoressa Arcidiacono, and the question is: do you think the socials are available for teacher? Do you think that the social network are available for teaching? Are a method for teaching? From Fabiana Morosini. For the Professor Fornasari Alberto.
It's for me. Okay. Yes, I think that it's possible to use social network also for teaching. It's important to have the competence to organize a lecture through technologies. And in general, the principal mistakes that we have registered in our experience of DAD is that for the majority of teacher or professor, they transfer the frontal lecture on the screen. And I think that this is one big mistake, because this is not e-learning, and they don't use the pedagogical paradigms of e-learning. Okay.
Thank you.
Andiamo al terzo, allora.
Yeah, I think yes is better.
Okay. I'm sorry, but we go on. The third presentation, the third title is A Project Promoting English Learning in Primary School, an English Island e-learning platform. Authors are Paola Palladino, Robert Muzzi, Elena Nicolai, Milvia Cottini, Gwendalina Peconio, Federica Doronzo, Giussi Antonia Toto, and Pierpaolo Limone. So,
Thank you, Marianna. Thank you, Raffaele. I'm very happy to be here this afternoon and talking about this interesting project on English learning. I will try to share my few slides, and I anticipate you that the talk will be from myself, and also the second part will be you will know Bob Muzzi, the second author. He is going to present you the English Island platform.
Hello.
Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, can you see
Nice to meet you.
the slides? Can you see the slides?
Yes,
Yeah.
Paola.
Okay, perfect. So the project I'm going to tell you in the introduction, that will be more like to give you an idea of the literature background and also the rationale of the study. You will see that there is a bunch of people from the Learning Science Lab of University of Foggia, and also a few of us that are from British School Pistoia, Bob Muzzi and Elena Nicolai, and also the collaboration is with the Cognitive and Educational Sciences Lab of the Free University of Bolzano, Milvia Cottini, and also other people are collaborating in this project from the IRIPA Association of the Foggia and Puglia section, and also the school are involved, and we also collaborate with a project that is parallel in the Lombardia region and in Calabria region. So it's a very large project. So it's I'm going to focus on the Foggia experience, but you take in mind that is also going on in a different region, and we will go to put all the data together and then to see a big picture. So about learning a foreign language, few information. This information are in order to distinguish between what we called usually bilingualism or multilingualism and what is foreign language learning. So this distinction depends on the context, because in literature there is agreement in defining bilingualism and multilingualism, the condition where a new language is learned within the place where that language is spoken usually, so within the culture, within the background of that language. And an example is from children that families that comes to Italy and then learn Italian in Italy, so where the language is spoken. And often to these children, it happens that they learn Italian together with the Italian literacy, so reading and so on. And this is a situation that is very interesting, but it's not the focus of our project. Our project is focused on learning a foreign language. So the fact that our children in primary school, in particular, we focus on this level of school, learn English as a foreign language. So in a context where a different language is spoken, they spoke Italian, they learn literacy in Italian, and they study English as a foreign language. This is very important because it makes a great difference, and we will see also in the literature that we are going to analyze many different variables and different situations. Few studies were conducted on Italian population. In particular, I collaborated a few of these studies in order, for example, to demonstrate that learning English in school may be difficult for some students, in particular for students with a learning disorder. but also for students that also are weak, are poor already in Italian reading comprehension, or mailing in all the phonological sensitivity, phonological memory processing. And also they seem to be at risk for attention deficit disorders. So we have in our classes, in our school, children that struggle to learn English. Not only children with a learning disorder, but often also children that we do not expect they could have problem. And this is a perspective. So the perspective related to the context or the linguistic input, the perspective related to doing research on the cognitive and motivational variables that are related to foreign language learning, or also a more linguistic perspective, so to study, for example, L1 and L2 similarity, how L1, for example, Italian matches English, not very much. And also to understand how strong may be the linguistic transfer. So this is one perspective that is the perspective of the literature. I try to show you a few evidence. But in this project that we are going to present you, we move to a different perspective. So we were interested in the teaching method. So which is the role, which is the strength, which is the weaknesses eventually of the teaching methods. Focusing on teaching method, what is going to tell us about foreign language learning. So our study is focused on the first 3 years of primary school, so first year, second and third. And in Foggia, we collaborate with the teachers and the children of the Santa Chiara Institute, that is primary school and also secondary school, in the center of the city. We tested several cognitive and emotional variables, also meta-English and memory and so on, and also English learning. The aims, the main aim of the study was to verify, to test the effectiveness of using the platform, the e-learning approach called An English Island, that now Bob is going to show you, just give you few information about how this platform works. So Bob, it's up to you. I am going out.
Hello, everybody. Thanks very much, Paola, and thank you for having me, everyone else, Marianna and everyone else.
Thanks to you.
It's a pleasure to be here. And now I will, actually, with regards to the platform, you will not be seeing the platform live because it would have taken too much time, but I will talk about the platform and show you some things. And at the end, I will give you the opportunity to, if anyone would like to actually play with the platform, we can give you the opportunity to use it at home for a few days. You guys can be children too, because we're always adults and it's nice to be a child once in a while. Okay, so now I'm going to share, okay? And then, okay, let's see. Yeah, and this one. Okay, guys, hello. Can you see?
Yeah, you see.
Yes.
We see your screen.
Okay, thanks. All right, let's start with what is An English Island. It's a methodology that is based on three codified languages which sort of mix, okay, which are continuously being mixed. Oral, and by oral, I do not mean only the word, but also how the mouth is moved while speaking, okay? Visual, so we have a series of visual of cards which have meanings. They are not, they are puzzle cards, okay? And then we have a series of mimes, and these three, let's say, codes join and can be mixed and matched at will, okay, in a circular learning path. It's also possible to use them both passively and actively. What does that mean? That the teacher, who should be considered a coach or a scaffolder, or even a farmer who is working the land, can both introduce the language. So in this case, his student athletes are passive and they see and do, but he can also, in a second moment, and this is what is very important, he will have his student athletes speak. He will work on their muscle mouth memory, and he will correct them without opening his or her mouth. Okay, so coaches should be able to work without opening their mouths. You have an association of the three languages above: oral, how you move your mouth and what you say; visual, what you see; and mime, how you move. And this creates, before creating knowledge, we want to create habit and familiarity. We want to, English should not be stressful for anyone. So we would like people to think of English as being on an island. It's called an English island for a reason, because if you are on a small island, you know the island very well. You know the paths to go from one part to the other. You know the people on the island. You feel comfortable in what you are doing. Okay, so it's obviously a commutative approach, and this is pretty, so there are no written words. First thing, there are no written words until the teacher decides by using his or her finger to show written words. So everyone is on the same playing field. Kids with dyslexia, foreign kids, kids with other problematics. They're not having a written word means that everyone is on the same playing field. They start at the same level. And our idea is to build a child's mouth. In sport, you build a child's legs, arms, body. Here we are building their mouth to start with. It is obviously learner-centered, where the teacher's role is that of a coach, a scaffolder, because since we have a platform, you can invite the kids to be the people who use the platform. It's much easier for them. The platform is a kind of video game. Who is better at video games, kids or adults? Who learns faster, kids or adults? The answer is pretty simple. And inclusività, inclusion, right? Because everyone can play. And if the teacher, scaffolder, coach sees that someone is in difficulty, they can ask them to do something passive, which means showing what they know, touching, going, and not only using their mouth, okay? And obviously, this allows kids to personalize their learning paths. There are kids who are better at moving, kids who are better at seeing, but the one thing we do not have is the written word at the beginning, which causes fossil errors. An example of fossil error, sotto, under, under, okay, is an example. And why? Because a child sees this before having a good muscle mouth memory. And in fact, muscle mouth memory is a continuous workout of the mouth for all. And we start with the word, but this is something that we insist that not be used. The word, the single word, is not very useful. We go on a chunk, a group of words, to a sentence, and we try to give an idea of why we're doing everything at the end, okay? An example, a very quick example of this is colors. Yellow. Yellow is not very useful, but a yellow pencil, I put 3 fingers in the air, as you can see. A yellow pencil gives the child the possibility to communicate an idea, a chunk, and say what they want. A yellow pencil, and you have the adjective in front of the noun. So you're also doing a sort of grammar beforehand. And then, can I have a yellow pencil? Can I have a yellow pencil? They are on the beach with some German boys or girls. They go to them, can I have a yellow pencil, please? And the German boy or girl can say, why? And the Italian boy or girl could point to the sun. I want to draw the sun. Okay. And so you have this continuous workout where the mouth, depending on the age, the number of words used depends on the age of the child, because words have a certain weight and have to be used. Okay, now let's go on to the platform. I will explain it to you. As I said, unfortunately, to show it to you live would be quite difficult. But the platform was developed to provide practical support for teaching children to speak English through continuous practice. What does it mean? It's a sort of video game in class where everything that is touched speaks. The written word, I repeat, does come out at the end when the teacher, I hope you can see my finger, uses his or her finger to show. But there is no written word before. There are other codes, other languages. And it is a 5-year path. It starts day 1 of primary school and ends on the last day of school in class 5. It can be the principal method of teaching, or it can be used together with books and other methodologies and methods. But what does it guarantee? It guarantees that the mouth is always being used. There are 48 units modeled on the same structure scheme. What changes is the difficulty. So if we look at it from a sports point of view, 6-year-old children play on a small field and they play with less children. 10-year-old children play a bigger field with more children and run more. But it's always on a field and you're always playing. And what does this mean? That if we look at the idea of being able to use older children to help younger children, we can see that children who are 8 or 9 years old could be the first teachers in a peer-to-peer, which is vertical, with small children. Can you imagine a 6-year-old whose first English teacher at school is an older brother or sister? And last but not least is the training area for teachers. I have trained for years, and many times I go into schools at 5 p.m. in the afternoon, and children and teachers have already done 10 rounds of boxing with their kids, and they are very tired. And then they have to do another 5 rounds with me in the evening. And I felt sorry for them. So now the training area for teachers is all part of the platform. It is 10 to 12 podcasts, each lasting 5 minutes, which I call tea time, because you can have a cup of tea while watching the training. And you can take notes, and then you can go into class and use the units which you use in class. So it's divided into a part in class and a part for teachers. And there is also a help desk, which is open every day. And there are webinars live every 2 or 3 months. So teachers are always being taken care of, because when we talk about inclusivity, we have to talk about kids, but we should also talk about questi poveri docenti, these poor teachers too. Here, now this is not live, but this is what the online platform gives to teachers to use in schools. A mind section, which associates the 3 languages, and the mouth is very important here. board games which put together the cards. These cards are puzzle cards because they can be moved, sono malleabili, they are soft, let's say, and they can be moved around to construct and also give the right rhythm, okay, depending on where the card is put. And then there are circles, which is a listening comprehension, which leads to writing. And this is where it's interesting, because a child who is dyslexic, for example, they hear writing, panic, but the writing here is not real writing, it is drawing. We are still on the same playing field. Everyone is the same. The drawings were done by my colleague, Elena, and we are in Pistoia, which is near Vinci, Leonardo da Vinci's hometown. But the drawings are very simple, not because Elena is not a good drawer, but because we want kids to be able to draw them too. So the drawings are almost disgusting in a way. Then we go on to twin brother, which associates the oral word with its spelling. The oral word can come from a physicality, I'm moving my hands, from a drawing, I'm showing you a card which I don't have, or other things. And kids, after having said something a certain number of times, is explaining that there are two twin brothers, guys. One twin brother is very nice and very limpido, very clear, and it is the mime or the drawing. While the other twin brother is sly, it is the written word, and it will try and trick you, so be careful. Then we have initials and mix and match, which are two games which are very computer oriented, and kids are used to it. One is, instead of having words, we have initials. So can I have a yellow pencil? C-I-H-A-Y-P. And you would say, but kids would be confused by this, Bob. It's impossible. No, kids are used to solving problems on a computer by moving, understanding. And obviously, we do not use this game in class 1, but from class 2 on, we use it all the time, and you still do not have the written word shown. The last is a mix and match game, which is a game which is actually, it's the preparation from class 1 for Invalsi in class 5. We do not believe in starting Invalsi preparation in class 5. And it's multifunctional, where you hear, you say, you mime, and at the end, if the teacher deems it worthwhile and necessary, you can show the written word. Last but not least, okay, is, of course, speaking is a language for the child, and it is a natural activity. Speaking is a natural activity. They want to repeat, they want to say, they want to communicate. And we try to create a learning environment which gives everyone the possibility to communicate, and gives a metacognitive teaching, the metacognitive teaching canons that allow children to choose their own path, where the written word is at the end, and in Italian, per forza, you have to, but at the end. And if you look at the tree on the right...
Excuse me, I'm sorry. We have about a few minutes. Excuse me.
Okay, I have finished.
It's very, very interesting. Excuse me.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that the tree has roots at the bottom, and roots are much more important.
No problem.
Thank you very much for being with us. And here's some information. I apologize. I lost track of time. I apologize.
Okay,
have a nice day.
Many thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay.
And sorry, guys.
Okay. Any questions?
And Marianna, chiedo scusa.
No. It was very interesting.
Oh, I think we tried to.
I didn't give you the time because it was very, very interesting. Excuse me.
No. Thank you, and don't worry. It's your job. I got it. It's your job. Someone has to be the bad cop.
Any question?
Yeah, there is one interesting question, a comment before all, and a question from Antilope Gialla, probably is an unknown user. The method is extraordinary. but right now, with the mask in the classroom and the COVID rules to be applied with children, what are the best way to apply this method? The platform already helps.
Yes, of course. Okay, it's a good question. Thank you very much. First of all, you're right about the mask. You're right about the mask. What we tend to do is, if we are online, so if there's distance learning, the problem solves itself. Look, I can show my mouth as I wish, right? But when we are in class in this period, in this historical period, I realize what we usually do, because the mouth is an important part of this, is we go to the gym, or we put a child in the corner, they take off their mask, and they do not actually emit sounds, but only show the movement of the mouth, then put on the mask and emit the sound afterwards. And children are actually very good at this. And another thing we do is we have them send us homework where the parents only film the child's mouth that is sent to us. So you would have a child who is, can I have a yellow pencil? Can I have some biscuits? Where only the mouth is shown, so we can judge the child's mouth, and we send them homework showing the mouth, which is in the mind part. Is that okay?
Great, thank you.
I think, yes, very
There is
clear.
another quick question from Fabiana Morosini, and I use this question in order to say if technical situation is an app, a web app, or an app for mobile services. Is available. The user can download it or use freely.
This is a, how can we call it? I'm talking about, because basically the platform is ordered. You order the platform, you receive a mail where you order it for a number of months that you want, usually for the whole year. So it goes from September to June, and you have a certain number of hours to use it in class, which includes the classroom hours. To give you an example, Raffaele, a class 3 has about 80 hours a year of English in class. So you have 80 hours, in theory, if you wanted to use it all the time, you would have 80 hours in class and 20 hours of training, which is the part that you have the training for the teachers. 20 hours is plenty, but also what you are doing in class is basically on the job training. So you are training the whole year. The teacher is always training in a sort of pendulum, what they do in class, and then they go home and check if everything is okay, and they can do everything. And so they buy, and we usually have schools that use the methodology. So what happens is a class 3 or 4 at the beginning of a year, after they've used it a year or two, they are, as I mentioned during my presentation, they are the first teachers in a peer-to-peer, which is vertical, in class 1, which easier things, obviously, if we consider that words weigh, hanno un peso. So in class 1, the number of words is less, and because kids have less of a physical capability, right? A muscle mouth memory, but you can use it anywhere, anyway. If I'm not clear, please let me know.
No. It's very clear. Thank you for this reply, this answer.
Many thanks. I see Professor Arcidiacono.
He's back.
Okay. I am pleased to be back. I don't know at what time the connection was gone. So I think that would be better not to start again from the beginning, but to summarize the meaning of my intervention. In a community psychology perspective, what I want to bring to this conference is the importance of sharing activities that the online connection and communication can give. So online communication is a tool to fill the gap, to mind the gap between students and the university, but it should be a good opportunity to create a different form of interaction. In this meaning, in a community psychology perspective, it is very important how the use of online didactic and distance didactic can help in creating connection among students, proposing and supporting their collaborative work at home, proposing collaborative work during the lesson among the students, and using the facilitation competence of community psychology to help the teacher in leading the class, facilitating the class. So I think there are some specific competencies in leading the class, in using collaborative knowledge, in using collaborative teaching, in using collaborative experience that will improve the teaching. And I'm saying this starting from an experience with 350 students of a main course that we had online during the first COVID measure in the 2020. And from this experience, I collect how it is important the opportunity of sharing given by the online teaching. But it should be a different form of teaching. It should be a teaching that take care of what students can do in their interaction, and it should be a teaching that promote belonging of students with university, their belonging to the university, and the virtual class should be stronger than a physical presence class. In this way, we are giving to the online teaching another value. It is the value of connection between people located in different areas, sharing their personal experience. My course was a course of community psychology, so for many concepts, for many things, it was easy to ask people to share their experience. And we did it by using drawing, we did it by using diary on specific topics. And in this way, being apart, being alone at home was being alone, but being alone together, or being together apart. And another things that I think it were important that come out from our activity and then from the evaluation that the student did at the end of the year with the SurveyMonkey questionnaire, is that we ask students to use different tools for their report, for their homework. We don't ask about written report, we don't ask about summary, we don't ask about synthesizing what was said in books or what was said in the presentation of the teacher, but we ask them to create some video tool, some slides or a little video or some interaction or create fiction. And so at the end of the year, we collect a very rich experience of they work very hard giving a very good presentation in a multimodal and multi-method perspective. And in this way, we use the opportunity of the online, so to collect video, to go in Google, to go in the World Wide Web, to collect sentence pieces, frame of video, frame of films, and they create their own presentation on the topic we were studying. And I think this was a very great experience, and it is also an experience that trains students in the 30th century. We are now in multimodal experience in any way. And so using training students to the use not only of pencil and paper, but tool, but also on video, on slides, on film, on music, and asking them to use this multi-method to explain contents and topics they study. It gave us, to our course, a very strong added value. So I'm pleased to give here a summary of this experience. In this experience, we ask students on their reflectivity, we ask students about their diary, about pictures, then we work together in the analyzing these materials. And at the end, we ask them for a final report or for a final essay using multimodal multi-methods. And this gave to the course an added value and allow a distance experience as the experience of an online course to be strong and powerful as a physics in presence class. So the virtual class can be powerful and strong tool of teaching if we as teacher propose a different form of teaching in a multi-methods collaborative perspective. This is the summary of my intervention, and then we will explain all the way we did the research. We analyzed the text, and we analyzed the drawing and the picture of the students, but now we have not time for doing this. So I am pleased to have brought this message, and this is a message from psychology to the technological education tool. And it is a word that will give value to the importance of psychology in taking care of relations and relationships among people, focusing on connectedness, belonging, and sharing goals, tools, methods, and future. Thanks.
Many thanks, and very important your message. I am a psychologist. I teach psychology of development and education, so I agree at all with you, of course. Any question?
I see on the chat at the moment. No, there are some. Thank you. I have a comment too, because I appreciate a lot this work. It is interesting because in some cases, when we use technology in online courses, if we give to students a single task with a single method, a single tool, they can have some limits in using this, and they can share their expression at the best, their emotion. I appreciate the comment. This approach, because you use a multimodal method. You gave to the students the possibility to explore their emotion, how in the manner they prefer, and this is an added value. Probably it's something to take in great consideration, because it's a great approach, in my opinion. It's a comment. Okay, there are no other questions at the moment.
Okay. The fourth presentation is Dilio 2, a pilot study for the use of a mobile app to assess school readiness in children, developed by Federico Diano, Fabrizio Ferrara, Alessia Rosa, and Michela Ponticorvo. And Federico Diana will speak about this app.
Thank you. Thank you. And good evening, everybody. I am just going to share my screen so you can see the slides. Okay. You should be able to see them.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to be just as fast as clear as possible to stay in the time we have. So I'm going to first present you the Dilio 2.0 app, which is a serious game, and I will show you some first results coming from this pilot study we have conducted in the last months. But we can start from a short premise, which is about the age of the target of this serious game, which is the children's transition from kindergarten to primary school, which is a very complex and important period of their time, of their lifetime, which has a consistent impact on their future academic success and their cognitive and emotional development. A key concept is the school readiness, which is a set of skills through which children become able to learn in school. And this concept includes many different skills like literacy, communication, mathematics, and several soft skills, as we will see later in this presentation. And it's a very important concept in today's learning environment, since in 2012, the Italian Ministry of Education recognized those skills as key competences, which are essential for children entering primary school. Dilio aims at assessing, so is an assessing tool, aims at assessing in 6 years old children, 2 of the skills that are part of the school readiness concept. So we have 2 different versions of Dilio 2.0. One is focused on emotional competences and social competences, and the other one, which is the one we have used for this pilot study, is the geometric and numerical thinking. Dilio 2.0 is also focused on evaluating the psychological and behavioral attitude to engage in slow or fast thinking activities. So by summarizing, we have one version which is focused on emotional skills, so awareness of emotion, emotional recognition, display of emotion following cultural rules, and regulation and management of emotions, of course. The other version, the one we have used in this study, focuses on geometric and numerical skills. So the knowledge of geometrical figures, the acquisition of concept of big and small, the recognition of number representation, the spatial concepts of in, out, up and down, so on, and temporal order in terms of before and after. And the third dimension, which is the slow and fast thinking preference, comes from Kahneman's theory about the 2 thinking systems, which are System 1, which is the fast, automatic, unconscious, and emotional thinking system, and System number 2, which is slow, logical, conscious, and effortful. And we have implemented these features in this serious game. So Dilio is a serious game developed with the Stealth platform and is based on an agent-based model. And it's currently available, in fact, on the Google Play Store in an early access version for both versions. And don't worry, this is not a copy-paste QR code. These QR codes are just here for you if you want to scan them and see by yourself the app on the Google Play Store. They are available for free as early access, and you can try them, you can see them. As I said before, Dilio is an assessment tool and can be both normative or ipsative. Where normative, it is based on inter-individual comparisons. When ipsative, it can become an intra-individual assessment tool, which can be useful to highlight the progresses made by children. Another important feature in the development of Dilio is the narration. Narrations are a pervasive feature of human cultural products, and they are frequently used by adults to introduce the child to complex concepts, to progressively help them to comprehend reality and to develop new cognitive and interpersonal emotional skills. So we implemented this feature in Dilio.
Io sono in commissione di concorso domani.
Are you still listening? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all okay.
Okay, sorry.
Yes.
I heard sounds. So how Dilio works? Dilio is a serious game where the child accesses into the test section of the app from the homepage, and she or he is introduced to the narrative framework of the game and to its main character, which is the artificial agent of the game, which is Leo, the explorer, this one. The child is actively involved to help Leo facing several tests, which take place in different stages, each with a different setting. And each stage is set on a specific competence of the school readiness concept, focused on numerical and spatial thinking. The game is structured in 8 different sections. So every section is located on different island, which follows a simple story of the game where the children have to help the explorer find treasures on different islands by answering different requests that the explorer asks to the child. For each island, the child can choose a fast or slow mode. So the difference between these two modalities are that the slow mode is based on presenting a deeper narrative experience, merging the items in a simple storyline that engages the child deeply into the narrative context of each stage. So the session is effectively actually longer. The fast mode is more a sequence of items where the child is encouraged by the explorer to be fast in giving the correct answer, and is some kind of a point-and-click setting. This is an example of a slow mode item, which is merged between the items that are focused on numerical and spatial thinking. For example, here the children are asked to help the explorer to escape, to run away from a shark by choosing an item. So, as I said before, Dilio is based on an agent-based model approach. So the user is the natural agent, and the artificial agent is the explorer. And here you can see some examples of the requests that the artificial agent asks to the child. The first one on the upper left is from the version we have used for this study, and the other one is taken from the recognition of emotion and facial expressions that is on the other version of Dilio. The game path is predetermined to ensure the test validity and not to affect assessment, of course. And at the end, when the game session is concluded, a brief report is available with an assessment of just the preference for slow or fast mode, while the different scores for the 8 skills are saved into an online database and are currently available just to researchers at this stage of development. So this is a short table. I'm not going to describe you every item of this table, otherwise we will spend a lot of precious time. Anyway, these are the 8 skills of the geometric and numerical skills version of Dilio, and now the one we have based the game on, which is the game we have used for this study. The early development took place in the Scuola dell'Infanzia Gigli, where we gave the first version of this game to teachers to try the app, and we gave them the checklist, which included these following points to better to improve the app, to make it better, to correct some issues, and to create a tool which could be presented to children for the study. And the overall feedbacks were quite positive, and we made treasure of every feedback we have used to improve the game. Coming to the methods we have used, this study involved 44 Italian children from kindergarten, which age between 5 and 6 years old, from 2 different schools in Central Italy. Before the experiment, teachers were given access keys linked to children profiles to anonymously collect data, but allowing children as well to log in as distinct users. All data has been saved and stored in an online database in an anonymous form. And the experiment has been conducted with the help of teachers who administered the mobile app through Android tablets in small groups, so that every child had the opportunity to play a complete session and receive help from teachers for any reasons. Coming to the early results we have found, and let's see some descriptive measures, and we can see that the mean score of the sample shows that, talking about the scores in the different age subscales, the mean score of the sample shows that most of children answer correctly to the 58% of the items, which is high but not very high. And even if we consider that the possible difficulty of items, we could attribute it to different factors. And this is an important conclusion we can say about this study, so that the UI usability, the UX, are, as well as device performances, graphics, are all elements that can affect the performances of children when using this kind of tools, of digital tools. We can also see that, for example, the inside, outside, and up-down scales have the lowest scores. And this is strange if we consider that they are significantly lower than the other one. So the hypothesis is that this may be due to some interface or graphic factors. For example, some subscales, some skills from a spatial point of view could benefit from 3D environments rather than into the which is the form we have used for Dilio 2.0. So a 3D environment could improve this kind of performance. This is just an hypothesis from this data. Talking about the fast and slow preference, all measures are very much closer to 1 than to 2, where 1 is the score assigned for the fast mode. So most of the children showed a strong tendency towards the use of fast-thinking cognitive strategies, and this can allow us to many different interpretations of this data. Variance is low, so the preference is quite strong, and children, we can hypothesize that children may have stronger preference for fast-thinking activities, or may be reinforced to use this kind of cognitive processes in their daily activities and experiences. So they are more used to this kind of thinking strategies. Coming to conclusions, the first point to deepen, the first point which can be interesting to deepen, is the impact of the game design, the UI and the UX, on the performances of children. And as I said before, in serious games, this can have a dramatic impact on the the user's performance during the game. And so it will be interesting to redesign the UI for the 2 subscales, for example, which have shown lower average scores, because it will allow to better understand if and how the UI can affect these performances of children. We have conducted some other preliminary statistical analysis, and we have found that we will need a bigger sample to be sure of these measures, since preliminary data analysis showed a weak reliability of the item scales. Alpha is 0.61, and with KR20 and KR21, we have a very similar measure. And this may easily be due to the small sample or the shortness, even the shortness of the scale, which is 32 items, just to point it out. Even correlation seems to be quite low between the preference for fast mode and average scores on all subscales. So we don't have many data about the correlation between the preference for fast or slow mode and scores on the subscales. Also because of the small size sample, of course. And even a preliminary one sample t-test has not shown significant differences in average scores between children. So we will need a bigger sample to see if there are any differences, and which are remarkable in this case. And I'm happy to say that it will soon start also a new pilot study with other version of the game, the other version of the game, which is focused on the social and emotional skills and has the same structure. And this may give even more information about the role of the design of the app, as I said before, and its impact on children performances. And just as a conclusion, by providing a normative and ipsative assessment, Dilio 2.0 can represent a tool with a great potential to promote a more sensitive awareness about each child's specific educational needs, and to support teachers by monitoring the class to adjust their educational strategies and their path along the way. I also wish to thank Professor Orazio Miglino, whose ideas and efforts have dramatically impacted the realization of this project. And I want to thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Okay, many thanks. Any question?
Let's see on the chat. There is no formidable. There is a comment. For Federico. However, I have a little question to Federico Diano. Is related to the role of the teacher. Which is the role of the teacher in the application? They can adjust, tune some parameter, or which is the role of the teacher in this application?
Okay, thank you for your question. And the role of the teacher is the role of a tutor. So the teacher start the app and let the child log in into the platform by putting an anonymous code. This is the first thing that the teacher does during this experiment. And later, the teacher supervises the children while playing with the game. The game is structured to be very easy to comprehend. Is very friendly to understand, and there are different UI elements which eases this process. For example, there is a button to listen over and over the instructions, the requests from from the explorer in the game. So it's very easy. And the impact of teachers is quite low. So it's just some kind of a tutor, helping figure for any kind of issues. For example, technical issues, maybe children can press a button and exit from the app and things like this. But we have tried to prevent all of these events by designing the app to be very, very easy to use.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
I have a question, excuse me. Do you have any measure about the appeal of different subscales, different tasks? I mean, did you measure if children loved more one task rather another? For example, spatial tasks were appreciated, were had the same appeal than other tasks or not?
Okay, we have some qualitative data about this. We have this data also from the preliminary stages of this study. For example, we collected qualitative data from teachers who used the first version of the app with children. And we have this data from what we have already seen. There is not a strong preference for any of the game. We are very happy to see that children wanted to play many times with this game, and this made us happy, of course. But we don't have seen a strong preference for any of these subscales. But it will be very interesting to see so the impact of the UI on performances, of course.
Okay, because the strength of serious games is to teach by enjoyment. So
Sure.
I think this is very, very important. Many thanks.
Thank you.
So,
You're welcome.
and now the last robot-assisted therapy strategies for children with autism. Grazia Donofrio, Anna Maria Petito, Antonella Calvio, Giussi Antonia Toto, e Pierpaolo Limone. And Antonella Calvio will discuss about this therapy strategy. Many thanks.
Hi. Just a moment for share.
We see your screen now.
Okay.
So you can open your presentation and
Okay.
without any problem.
Do you see?
No, we see your folder. Probably you have to share the entire screen, the whole screen, schermo intero. I suggest you repeat the steps to come back to. Otherwise, I can share for you because I have your presentation in my mail, if you prefer. Yes, great. If you open your presentation, we will see. Of course. Yeah, we will see. We are seeing your presentation.
Okay.
So if you use a F5, we have a full screen.
Can you see in
presentation? However, we see your screen, so you can start if you.
Can I start?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Hi, I'm Antonella Calvio. I'm a psychologist and PhD student in neuroscience and education at the University of Foggia. The title of this research project is Robot-Assisted Therapy Strategies for Children with Autism. Autism spectrum disorder is a category of neurodevelopmental disorder characterized by persistent deficits in social communication and social interaction across multiple contexts, as well as restrictive, repetitive patterns of behavior, interest, or activities. Social robots offer clinicians new ways to interact and work with people with ASD. Robot-assisted training is a growing body of research in HAI, which studies how robots can assist and enhance human skills during a task-centric interaction. Robot-assisted training systems have a wide range of applications for children with ASD. Applied behavior analysis is one of the most extended therapies of the treatment of autism, consisting of improving specific behaviors which are divided into simple and repetitive tasks that are presented sequentially and strategically while measuring and analyzing the patient's performance during the therapy. In a pilot randomized controlled trial with an experimental group and a control group, research aims will be to assess group differences in repetitive and maladaptive behaviors, affective states, and performance tasks across sessions and within each group, to assess the perception of family relationships between two groups before and post-robot interaction, to develop a robotic capable to run Raven's progressive matrices, a test typically used to measure general human intelligence, and to compare the accuracy of the robot to capture the data with data run by psychologists. Patients with a mild or moderate level of ASD will be enrolled in the study, which will last 3 years. The sample size is 60 patients, 30 patients will be located in the experimental group, and 30 patients will be located in the control group, indicated by an evaluation of the estimated enrollment time. Inclusion criteria will be the following: eligibility of children confirmed using the Autism Diagnostic Observation Schedule 2. Age greater than or equal to 7 years. Clinician judgment during a clinical psychology evaluation. Written parental consent approved by the local ethical committee. The study will be conducted over 10 weeks for each participant, with the pre-test and post-test conducting during the first and last weeks of the study. The training will be provided over the intermediate 8 weeks, with 1 session provided each week, for a total of 8 sessions. Baseline and follow-up evaluation includes socioeconomic status of families will be assessed using the Hollingshead scale. The social communication questionnaire was used to screen the communication skills and social functioning in children with ASD. Vineland Adaptive Behavior Scale, second edition, will be used to assess the capabilities of children in dealing with everyday life, for example, communication skills, motor skills, functionality needed in everyday life, and socialization. It will be also assess the severity and variety of children's repetitive behaviors using the parent questionnaire, Repetitive Behavior Scale Revised. Moreover, the perception of family relationships assessment will be run by a portfolio for the validation of parental acceptance and refusal. Among Android social assistive robots, Pepper from SoftBank Robotics is a humanoid that has almost the same articulation as a human, except for its mobile base and impossibility of moving every finger independently. It has 4 microphones, 2 loudspeakers, 2 cameras, and a depth sensor. It has tactile sensors in the head and the back of its hands. It has a speech recognition engine that is able of identifying multiple variation in the human voice and a speech-to-text module that makes it talk with people, as well as detection and recognition and emotion detection engines. It is also provided with a tablet, enabling it in showing interactive content. Pepper is equipped with camera and software for eye tracking, face detection, and recognition. Robot-assisted therapy today is available for application running on the robot Pepper itself. The research hospital Casa Sollievo della Sofferenza is licensed with a solution named RoboMate, developed by Behavior Labs. RoboMate is a learning management system platform for humanoid robots, created for the following purposes: simplify the use of robots by clinicians, therapists, and educators; realize an easy and intuitive platform for the human-machine interaction; handle learning contents and edutainment; manage contents; track and store results of the executed sessions and patient data; generate reports and statistics on the results of the executed sessions. Through the iPad app RoboMate, a therapist can register patient data and sessions, as well as trigger predefined animation on the robot to catch the attention during a test session. Telepresent on app through Pepper's mix and cameras is also available. Following a description of the exercises available on the robot through RoboMate. Interactive sessions of the child with the robot will take place after the baseline session and before the follow-up evaluation session. 3 standard session types have been designed with a predefined set of tests that the therapist will administer using the robot. For example, Pepper mimics objects and animals and asks to identify them, or Pepper tells stories and asks to recognize emotion felt by characters. Expected results are improved communication skills, reduced repetitive and maladaptive behaviors, more positive perception of family relationships, and improved performance. In conclusion, robot-assisted training aims to train and enhance user physical or cognitive skills through the interaction and not assist user to complete a task thus a target is to enhance user performance by providing personalized and targeted assistance towards maximizing training and learning effects. Robotic systems can be used to manage therapy sessions, gather and analyze data and like interaction with the patient, and generate useful information in the form of reports and graphs. Those are a powerful tool for the therapist to check a patient's progress and facilitate diagnosis. Thank you for your attention.
Many thanks to you. Any question?
So there is a question from Martina Rossi. How will patients will be selected?
Patients will be enrolled in Fondazione Casa Sollievo della Sofferenza in San Giovanni Rotondo, and supervised by Psicologia Clinica, Università of Foggia, research sources, data writing and analysis, drafting the result of scientific studies and research in Psicologia Clinica of Università of Foggia.
Okay, clear. Thank you.
So
Other
we have
questions?
okay. Other question? Any other question?
No. In the chat, there are not.
Okay. So we have only 3 minutes for the conclusions. Very, very interesting each presentation, and I wrote a lot. I have a lot of things to tell, but only 2 key points. But before to tell these 2 points, I see that the concept of island in this session was very important. The island for Dilio, and the island for the English, for the English island e-learning platform. So, given I am an islander, so I felt very comfortable. Now, serious, 2 key points. The first is that presentations of this session followed a complete developmental perspective to explain new tools for the learning and teaching. We moved from typical to atypical development with the last presentation, and through different ages, from preschool children to university students. And another key point that I noted is the interplay, the mutual relationship focused on each presentation, the interplay between cognitive and emotional motivation profiles in each learning context. So the need to consider how emotional and motivational variables allow a better learning, so reinforce cognitive growth at each age, in preschool, but in university students too. I'm sorry, a lot of stimuli, but our times, we don't have any time. We are at 16:30 now.
Thank you, Professor Salesi, for your wrap up of this session. I think that, as you said, there was a lot of stimuli in this,
yes, a lot.
and there's a session, and very interesting, this image about the island.
The island.
In a certain way, very interesting, and because in a certain way, when we are online, we are all islands alone in a certain way, and we saw how some strategies to see how to become an archipelago. And some island interconnected between them with shapes, with bridges and so on. And now we are building bridges in a certain way. I think that in this period, COVID-19 is something that we have experienced it, and now we are developing more mature strategies to manage the online teaching from, as you said, from the kindergarten to university, as we said, as we see during the session and during so true about being connected island. Also, Professor Muzzi said the same. So it was a very brilliant observation, and thank you for this. And thank you for your for sharing this session. This is the second day of the PLT conference. However, it's not the finish of this conference. Tomorrow will be another session at 10. Will be chaired by Professoressa Mazon, and we will have other articles and papers. I want to thank all the presenter, all the authors that came today here and participated in this conference. That would be a moment to reflect, to connect under a scientific point of view our research, our studies. I want to thank all the audience through YouTube. We had a peak number of 140 attendees, so it's a good result for this conference, and we are very glad for it. And we hope that in the next period we will be physical for a piece, for because it's now the world is changed, and the blended system, the hybrid approach is the new normal. So we will have always online and physical in the future. We hope that the situation will be better in the very next week. So thank you all.
Thank you to all, and regards from my island, from Sicily.
Yeah, it's true. You are in an island, so for this reason, we started with this. It's true, and thank you okay. Again for your cheering. Thank you. Bye, and see you tomorrow. And
bye.
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 Bye. Thank you.
Bye, guys. Bye. Have a nice evening.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
You too. Bye.